Welcome to a new day. Welcome. So, as a follow-up of my thoughts on my last video pertaining to cults and Jim Jones, when I was a youth, so I was only 10 years old when he was fully active, but the impact of that event was known for a very long time, even growing up, and I used to think about that, and I used to think about that narrative, just like I think about all kinds of narratives and how ridiculous. Let me ask you this. So, this guy was a humanitarian, right? Obviously, from what he did, okay? And we're told that he led these people to drink Kool-Aid laced with cyanide, okay? These religious people. I find it hard to believe, and I found it hard to believe back then that many people would actually do such a thing, right? Here's what's more likely, okay? Here's what's more likely. I was thinking about this the other day. Here's what's more likely, okay? What's more likely, as a religious group, they were performing what is called the Passover, right, or communion, right? The breaking of bread and the drinking of wine, grape juice, okay, because we're told that they drank Kool-Aid, right? Well, that's not too far from grape juice, right? And it's more likely that the government, who didn't like the fact that he had this kind of level of control or influence over people, right, would want to do something to take these people out. So what makes better sense, right? That some agent would go in there and lace all their cups that they were going to take communion with, right? To me, logically, that makes more sense than a bunch of people just offing themselves drinking poison, right? For no reason, really, for no reason. But that's going to lead me into, at some point, looking into other things. I'm going to look into that a little more. I'm going to do some more research on that. I'm going to look into the movement, okay? And also there was like, I think there was like, in American history, I think there was like four different. There was Waco, Texas. There was the move, and then there was something else that happened before that, okay? And when you start to think about things from a logical standpoint, then you start to ask questions, okay? So I started asking questions. I actually posted, so I asked questions to AI about space travel and rocket ships and all that kind of stuff, right? And that narrative, right? And I posted all the responses on my Facebook page, so you can go and take a look at that at the different speeds. But I just want to go over that with you right now, right? I want to point something out to you. Okay, so, obviously they tell us that if a rocket ship is traveling with the Earth, the momentum or whatever will carry it along with it. So I give them that. Okay, I'll give them that much. But once it leaves and goes out in outer space between, Earth and Mars, that's a whole different thing. Okay. Distance between the two planets, almost 13,000. It would take 13,000 miles per hour to get back to Earth. Okay, which, apparently a rocket ship can travel at 24,000. Right. So mission take 26 months. Average Earth is 140 million miles away from Mars. Two planets are roughly 192 million miles apart, moving closest possible 30 minutes. So when it comes down to it, all right, when I was asking all these questions, it comes down to it would take about 486 days or 1.3 years, okay, to cross the distance between Mars and Earth, to get back to Earth. Okay, that's what I wanted to get to, 1.3 years, okay? All right. Why real space travel would take longer. Robotic missions, let's see here. I'm just reading some things that added that I wasn't really interested. You can read through it and look at the things that kind of interest you, all right? Establishing a basic permanent human outpost on Mars will cost taxpayers approximately $200 billion to $500 billion for the first crew landing. So that was the time it would take to get back. Now if they were to establish, So we have here, we have infrastructure here to launch. Okay, we have, in Florida, infrastructure to launch a space rocket to Mars. Okay, with all the framing and everything and the vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So they would need some similar infrastructure on Mars in order to get back to Earth, right? That just makes sense, okay? So I started thinking about that, okay? About that infrastructure. How long it would take to create that infrastructure, the people, the time it would take, the trips, robotic trips and stuff like that. Okay. And all that, so all of that equates to a couple of things. It equates to resources and money, okay? All right? Resources and money, all right? Now, Tower Apollo, roughly 280 billion. The numbers into perspective, the entire Apollo moon program cost taxpayers roughly 280 billion in today's dollars, meaning a long-term mission infrastructure operation will cost anywhere from 2 to 7 times the cost of the Apollo program. All right. So it's saying research and development, 100 to 150 billion dollars. Okay. The stepping stone, the base on moon, 100 billion plus. Okay. Cargo transports, 50 billion to 200 billion. Okay. So what's my point? What's my point? It would take billions, if not trillions of dollars. Okay. Where's the timeline? Timeline. Let's see. I was asking about the timeline also. It'd be like 20 to 30 years, right, for this to happen. Okay. Here we go. Establishing a base and permanent human outpost on Mars would cost taxpayers an estimate of 200 billion to 500 billion for the first crew landing. Okay, that's just for the first crew landing. The program scaled up to build a highly robust, self-sustaining industrial infrastructure over 20 to 30 years. The cost will balloon to 1 trillion to 2 trillion. Okay. For what? For what? For what are we going to get back for that? What are we going to get in return for all that money, for all those resources that are taken off of our Earth, right? Where we're told that the oil and all of our resources are limited. Okay, we're always told that. Okay, and they're taking all these resources and they're going to put them into a rock in space. Okay, in hopes of what? That there's resources there. And what, are we going to benefit from those resources? And here's the question. Who's dumb enough, who's smart enough and dumb enough to start this, to go to be the first ones to go to Mars and try to set something up, okay? Other than Hollywood movies, right? Okay, and there's no guarantee of success in any of this, okay? Because you're in a vacuum of space, you're going to a hostile planet. You're leaving a planet that's here to sustain our lives, okay? And then it also comes down to the question as well, okay, how many families out there right now, they're increasing our food, they're increasing our cost of living with our fuel, okay, all right, our property taxes, okay, everything is getting more and more expensive, and they're crunching us with these fines that are always, they're have more fines. They just established here in Pennsylvania, no hand, can't be touching anything in your hand, so that gives them the right to pull you over and violate you and steal your money from you even more, okay? And you have all these struggling families out there that are paying their taxes to the government, to NASA, which in Hebrew means to deceive, okay? So they can spend billions and trillions of dollars to go to some planet, supposedly, for some unknown resources that we don't even know about yet, and that we're not going to benefit from, because we don't benefit from the resources that now they take from our Earth. We benefit from them because we pay a lot of money to benefit from them, right? So you don't think if they found resources over there in Mars that we're not going to be paying tons of money for those resources, whatever they might be? And honestly, I really don't believe they're going to find resources, okay? I mean, who out there really, I mean, besides your your space junkies out there who really, there's NASA lovers, who really agrees to all this? I didn't agree to any of this. Did you agree to any of this? I didn't agree to it. I didn't agree that they take all of our money and put it into some absurd. Think about the absurdity and the wastefulness of what they're trying to do, okay, with this mission to Mars, and they're telling us, decade after decade, they're going to go to Mars, whatever, right? First of all, I believe it's an impossibility, okay? I believe we can't, first of all, I don't believe there is outer space, okay? I believe that's another religion, okay? NASA and the government are another religion, or they're another cult, okay? Culture, okay? So, look into it yourself. Take the information that I posted on Facebook, right? And this is the thing. So for instance, you take NASA and what they tell us, right? Then you take the environmentalists, and that our resources, that we are limited in resources, okay? That our oil is a fossil fuel and is limited because the dinosaurs died out and there's only so much fuel left in the earth in order to, sustain us, okay? There's only so many minerals that they can take. There's only so many things as far as making steel. We're told that all of our resources are limited, right? In this planet, on this earth, right? On this earth that we live, and we have to live, right? Think about that. Think about that. If the resources are limited, if one part of science is telling us the resources are limited, is that another part of the government science is taking just astronomical amounts of resources and doing things with it that seems to be absolutely wasteful, okay? That's the thing, it's wasteful. They can't guarantee, they can't promise if they do all these things over 20 or 30 years, they can't promise us any kind of return whatsoever. Right? They don't have anything that they can promise us, okay? Right? Who wants to live on Mars? If you want to live on Mars, you're an idiot, okay? You're a fool, okay, to want to leave this planet where we have food, water, atmosphere, shelter, okay, and go to some hostile planet. You're a fool if you want to do that. I'm sorry. If you want to leave this earth and go to Mars and live there, you are a fool, okay? You're an absolute and utter. You might be intelligent. You might be able to learn how to do, you might be able to do math and all that kind of crap, okay? But you are a fool, right? You're an idiot, all right? That's the bottom line, okay? That is the bottom line, right? That is foolishness to go and live in some I would tell you, go now. There's places go to the Sahara Desert and go live in the Sahara Desert, okay? Go do that first, okay? Right? At least if something happens to you, you have a place to escape from, right? Go live in some place that's hostile on the earth, all right? If you really think you want to live in a hostile environment, you better go do it now and and try it out, right? Because if you think you're going to go to Mars and live there, and everything's going to be fine and dandy, and there's not going to be any kind of thing that's going to go wrong, okay? You're a fool, right? You're just an outright fool, right? I'm sorry to say, that's the conclusion. I guarantee that's the conclusion of a lot of people, all right? And if you believe that the government has the right to waste our resources, when there's families out there that are struggling financially, who can't even put food on their table, who can barely pay their bills, who are crammed up in a small apartment, not only in the United States, in other parts of the world, okay? That our governments have the right to waste those level of resources when there are people who are struggling in poverty, okay? You're not only a fool, but you're evil as well. You're evil, right? Sorry to say. You have an evil mind, that you think that our government has the right to take people's money and waste it away and use it for useless things, okay? When there are people on this earth that are struggling so much, and more each day. More each day. I'm sorry, but you're a fool and you're evil. Anyways, that's my little rant. And there's more of us waking up about this too. And if you're awake to this, give me a like, thumbs up, high five, whatever. Yahuwah loves you. I love you. I've gone a little bit long today. I'm at 15 minutes. That's as long as I've gone in a long time. Have a wonderful day. Welcome to a new day. Welcome to a new day. You good person and you fool. Both of you. Welcome to a new day.